everybody. Hi, it's Becky from Power Tools with Thread. Today is part 2 of our Scan-A-Cut and Simply Applique Warmest Wishes wall hanging sew along. That's a mouthful. So yesterday you were supposed to take an inventory of your pieces and then lay them out and make sure that you had all that you need. And then if you do not have the pre-cut fabric, that you were able to scan in all of the pieces for the pattern. Good news, I will show you how I'm kind of lazy when it comes to putting heat and bond on my fabric, but I did that yesterday. So that is what you would need to do today. You want to cut out your fabric pieces so that they are, an inch or so all the way around. No less than ½ an inch all the way around, larger than the pattern piece. So like here are my 3 leaves. I think these are my legs. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and look. And once we get these all cut apart and whatnot, so you just want to make sure you get heat and bond on the back. This is Heat and Bond Light. I buy it by the bolt, you guys, because I'm forever doing these things. And then we are going to cut out all of the fabric today as well. So to put Heat and Bond Light on the back of my fabrics, what I do is I put my fabric pieces, first of all, I cut them about 3/4 to an inch larger than required, just to make sure that the piece is going to fit, the pattern will fit directly onto the fabric without getting too close to the edge. And then I put my pieces on and I just overlap the edge of the heat and bond by 1/8 of an inch or so. And then I have the pieces overlap just so there is no heat and bond showing between them if at all possible. And then I just press and work my way over. This is just the easiest method I have found to put heat and bond onto fabric. You can cut the pieces individually if you want. It's just tedious is the way I feel about it. So I just try not to get heat and bond on my iron at all. And then once this is on, I turn it over and do it again without ironing the heat and bond to my ironing surface. This is just the quickest, easiest way I have found to do this. So let's talk about making a mirror image or not, depending on how you cut your fabric. I prefer to cut my fabric side down using a fabric support sheet and having the heat and bond paper side up. If you are using a fabric support sheet, you do not want to put that heat and bond side down. It will stick and it will ruin the mat. You will not be able to get that paper off. It's a nightmare. I've tried. I just bought a new mat and said, forget it. So it just depends on how you prefer to do it. I have seen where people put paper side down using a low tack mat, and you can just tape it in the corners. I've seen Terry Maffitt do that. I've not had a lot of success with that. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. So if you are using a fabric support sheet and you are going to have your fabric face down on the mat when you cut it, you need to do a mirror image in canvas or in the machine prior to cutting the fabric. If you are cutting your fabric face up, you do not need to mirror the image. If you scanned your pre-cut pieces that you bought with the pattern in order to send them to the canvas or into the machine in order to create the FCM file that is needed by Simply Applique, you do not need to mirror image those either. It's just really important. You gotta get that right, okay? Also, once you cut that fabric, you cannot mess with the size of the image at all. I don't recommend messing with it at all anyway. You did your tracings yesterday, you scan them into the machine, or you're going to upload them into Canvas, which is what I did. That needs to be a set size, because if you change it at all, it won't match and it won't embroider out right. So the size of the SVG and the size of the FCM need to be identical. I hope that's not confusing. Normally the process that I use is that I save the FCM file to my laptop from Canvas straight without mirroring it or anything from the scan that I went in. Then I do a second save for the SVG cut file. If you haven't yet scanned in any of your things, and I was doing it yesterday, but I didn't really point it out, you kind of want to save your images, your scans, in the grouping that they might be hooped as. So you'd want to save all the hat in one. You want to save the scarf in another, if you can fit it all on one page. You want to save your leaves in another, because you can stitch those all down in one hooping. So when you go to save something, some of them are too big and it's just going to be one, like the body and the wings are going to be probably separate hoopings. But just kind of think about saving, like the little bit of feathers over on the right, save those as one FCM file or one SVG file. Same for the feathers that are over on the left. Save those as one file so that you can stitch those down in one hooping. You don't want them all over the place and just put in wherever, because then it's kind of difficult to figure out what you're going to do and what file you need and where and what order and So, all right. I'll just quit babbling and let's get cutting. Once you're in the Canvas workspace, you go to the second tab, which is my projects. There are all of the pieces that I have scanned in, and we're going to work with this one. This is the scarf. You have two buttons. You can edit this project or you can download it. I'm going to edit this project. All right, there's a couple of things here that I want and a couple of things that I don't want. I have found the easiest way to do things, and really the cleanest way to do them, is to grab the pieces that you want and move them off the mat. I just want these three. This is the scarf, and I'm going to take my mouse and push down the left mouse button at the corner of the mat and drag the cursor all the way to the other side. That way, if there's any little bits of lint or dust or thread or anything, it will highlight it. Well, all it found this time was that little circle and the bottom edge of the paper. So now I'm going to hit the delete key on my keyboard. All done. Now I want to move these back onto the mat so that they can be cut. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go to download, and I'm going to download the FCM file. This will become the embroidery file. So I'm going to download that, and you can see it's downloading right there. What I like to do is go into my folders, and I'm going to go to downloads, and there it is right there. And I'm going to right click and rename, and I'm going to call it scarf. Enter. And while it's highlighted, I'm going to hit Control X for cut. Or you can right click and go to cut. I'm going to come to what I did, just so you guys can see what I've been doing. In my embroidery folder, I created a new folder by going right click, new, and folder. I'm not going to click on that because I don't need that right now. And in that new folder, I created Warmest Wishes. Inside of Warmest Wishes is where I have been putting all of the scans, the FCM files. You can see right here, these are all FCM files. And I'm going to right click and paste. And there's my scarf. Great, that's done. And I minimize this. Now I'm going to go to Scan and Cut Transfer and hit this button. And it says that it is ready. And so I'm just going to hit close. And now I'm going to go to the Scan and Cut. All right, I have taken my fabric from my scarf. I've laid it onto the mat, and I have scraped it I use a Pampered Chef scraper. I have scraped it down. Everything, the fabric is not going to go anywhere. And now I'm going to load my mat into the machine. Hit the load button. Okay, now I want to retrieve data, from the cloud. There's my scarf. Well, I can already tell I need to move things around a little bit because I need to scoot this down and scoot this up here. I can kind of see that, but so you don't have to guess where everything needs to go. You can use this button right here. It looks like a blue box with a bar over it, and that is to scan your fabric so you can see the background. One thing I need to do here before I do anything else is I need to go into Edit, and I'm going to hit the 3 red boxes to select all, and it wants to know part of the mat or all of the mat. I'm going to choose all of the mat. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to go into Object Edit, and I'm going to click the mirror button. There, that's what I needed to do. Click OK. Now I'm going to go into the Select All and deselect so I can move them individually, and click OK. I'm going to put this down here, move this up. I think I need to switch these because one is just a little bit shorter than the other. There. Again, I mirrored them because the fabric is upside down. That looks like that'll work. I'm going to tell it OK. And OK again. It says select. I'm going to cut and start. Less than 1 minute to cut them all out. Finished cutting. I'm going to tell it OK. And get my little spatula and eject my mat. Perfect. Look at this. You guys, since you have to cut this fabric anyway when you do these applique quilts, this is the only way to go. Wonderful. Okay. Oh, that turned out very nice. All done. All right, you guys, so that's the end of today. Today we learned how to manipulate the images in the canvas and mirror them if you're going to cut your fabric upside down, how to download them into your FCM file and store them in your embroidery folder on your computer. And then we cut out the fabric. So I'm going to finish cutting everything else here, and tomorrow we're going to start building embroidery files. We'll talk to you soon. Go sew something. Bye.